the very first principles of yoga practice is that every yoga pose wants to stretch and make your spine longer. That's the intention of any yoga pose, in any yoga practice, in any variation. You should know the two bodies that exist, the gross physical body and the subtle emotional body. And I'm just going to say it once, but you need to realize that those two always want to come back together. And the best way to think of it is, you can be sitting in a movie theater and watching a movie, but something happened in your home and you have no clue what's going on the screen. Your body is sitting in a movie theater, but your emotional body is digesting or operating somewhere else. Once you're 15, you've had that kind of experience, but I just want to make sure that makes sense to everyone. That makes sense that those are two varied bodies, but they live and I can touch it. If I go to the movies with you, I can feel it if you're not really there with me. If I want to, I might not. I might be too entertained in the movie. Who cares about this great movie? But good friends can feel if you're not there. So in yoga, what we want to do is come back there. We always want to come back and bring those two things together. And if you're a good practitioner, you notice when you're running away and coming back, running away, coming back, running away, coming back. So child's pose is a great posture that links those two together. You just and that's the power of breath. So when we say breath connects, and when you tell practitioners, it's like, oh, because the minute you connect to your breath, your emotional body and your physical body are right back inside. How long are they going to stay there depends on your concentration, because chances are you might not be aware of the next breath. But that's okay, because you just come back. Remember, it's a practice. Just come back. Come back. If you don't get lost, they won't get lost. If you stay centered, they stay centered. Vinyasa practice is about creating internal heat in the body and then using that heat to channel that energy that you've created to create structure in the postures that you're going to weave as a dance. So there's two parts to this practice if we take that into account. One of them is the flow part, music playing. And the other one is structure, there's no music playing. That makes sense? In the Sumit world, unlike the other world, okay, the outside world of yoga, vinyasa, does not apply in the Sumit world. Not that you cannot apply it to. It just doesn't apply. Not that you can't apply it to. It just doesn't apply. What do I mean by that? Two parts. One part's the flow part, one part's the structure part. In the vinyasa practice, it's very, very important to understand the breath and what energy the breath does. And what is it going to do for the structure of the body in a pose. How many of you ever been on a stage? How many of you have had to do high school plays? Maybe more hands not coming up. There you go. I don't act. Oh yeah, I remember I was looking great and I dropped the rice on the floor. That's what I did. I think it gave me a shock, and that was my last acting experience until college. The skills that you learn as an actor, and maybe you'll try to go back into at that time and try to learn them. But if you haven't learned them, then that's a direction you can go look for information. The person you come up here as a teacher, you're the actor. This is your stage. And the nice thing about hot yoga, unlike any other yoga, is that the play is given to you. It's a Shakespeare play. If you go see Hamlet, do you want him to say to be or not to be? Or do you want him to say, well, maybe you want to be and maybe you don't want to be? It's an actor. If Tom Cruise shows up to an acting class, it's not that the actors in class haven't acted yet. And maybe he's a little bit more successful, but what he's going to share with them is the experiences of, yeah, I've been acting more than you. And the successes of my acting is why I'm standing in front of you. And it's not necessarily my successes as teachers, it's your successes as practitioners. How well are you on your mat practicing, listening to what your body is doing? That's what you are standing up here sharing. So begin to walk. It melts the hamstring muscles and actually allows these hips to go higher. Which means that if you tell them sometimes to bend the knee for beginner practitioners, bend both knees, the hips can go up more and the shoulders can open more. Can you see that? It's a shoulder posture. So what's important is the shoulders being free, less the leg being straight and less the heel touching the floor. The way to achieve this freedom is to lift the hips. So notice, she's sliding on the mat a little bit, but she needs to make the effort to keep her hands on the floor. So that's why you want to be a little careful sometimes if you're adjusting in down dog for new practitioners, because you come over here and you push and their hands kind of come off the floor and they start walking the hands towards the feet. So it's like, hey, just plug and lift your hips up. It's all about the shoulder. A lot of extra strength to do down dog, so long as they can be here. You know? In order to go into a low push-up, you have to draw the elbows in, but the body itself needs to move forward a little bit so that when the elbows bend back, they can come in. And notice how elbows and shoulders in one line. Now she could move in forward a little bit more even. Squeeze your belly, lift your chest a little bit. There you go. Now the elbows over the wrist. Notice more control, more strength. And it's a lot more for her, you know. And if she moves in a little more, you can lie down. It's okay, perfect. The more that wrist is under the elbow, the easier. But we're not there long. So, I mean, in Ashtanga, you want to focus on those things. In Power Vinyasa, you want to focus because we hold Ashtanga and we do it a whole lot more than we do it here. Here not. So it's like, hey, try to bring them in. And if you can't hold it, the flow is beautiful. So she's resting in child's pose. Those of you who want to touch, fantastic, touch people. Come, put your hands in their low back. You need to touch the neck. The spine muscles start here, the low back, and here in the neck, so you touch the beginning, you touch the end.